What's up, everybody? Rick Dedman here. Holy Moly Outdoors. Thank you so much for joining us in this winter wonderland. We're talking winter steelhead in extreme cold, so stay tuned with us. Let's have some fun. First of all, though, I want to address the number one thing I could say, honestly: safety. In this extreme cold, in the snow, ice, everything else, your safety is the biggest piece. With that being said, don't go out if it's not safe. No fish is worth your life. From experience myself of hitting black ice going to a fishing trip and being in a very serious car accident, it's not worth it if you can stay home and be safe. Otherwise, have at it. Be safe, have fun. It's a lot of opportunities during this time. Frankly, we're right in the middle of it, guys. It's almost the first of the year. So as we transition to this new year, we're having these storms coming through with the cold. It's really something to address as well, what extreme cold is. Because extreme cold is different for us West Coasters versus our friends out on the East Coast. But reality, extreme cold for me, in the way that, in my opinion, I would layer it as, is going to be anything mid-20s and below. Because typical winters, we do get where it's around freezing a lot of the times, and sometimes it dips into the 20s, but we've had temperatures that have been pretty steady in the mid-20s, and then overnights you're getting lows that are in the teens and sometimes even single digits. But for the East Coasters, teens and single digits are probably more of a norm. So keep that in mind, that when I say extreme cold, it's not just, hey, it snowed, it's 33 degrees, woohoo. No, it's freaking cold. It is 25 right now. With a foot of snow here at my place, definitely cold. We're going to talk a little bit of what you can do for yourself to enjoy this extreme cold a little better. I layer up extremely well during this time with under layers of, your wader liners. Then I have Under Armour underneath. I wear a sweatshirt over the top of that, insulated vest, then my heavy duty jacket on top of that, with the proper gloves and hand warmers. You really can help set yourself up to be comfortable, because once you get cold out in this, you're done. There's nothing more miserable than cold hands or cold feet when it is this cold. And a little tip I can throw at you: if you guys want to stay even warmer with your hands, because it's tough, bare hands, to put gloves on makes it even more challenging just to fish, tie knots, do anything, right? So I'll show you some. In my backpack of goodies, I got a couple different things for gloves, right? You could have a standard fingerless gloves like I usually run. These are Cabela's Windstopper. They do work really well in semi-cold, but once it gets really cold, this is a little more challenging. However, it is worth mentioning having wind-stopping gloves. But you can add an old rubber glove underneath, and that little bit of extra warmth to your skin really helps with fingerless gloves. Now you can up that and go more of a wool glove route, which I think is a very wise decision in the wintertime in this extreme cold. But definitely a little tip there that'll help bring about just a little more comfort to your hands, because that is one of the big things to keep definitely warm. Another item worth mentioning, some kind of a face garment. This is a neck gaiter. I usually wear one of those or a balaclava because of the fact that the wind can really put that wind chill so cold on your skin. Keep that in mind. Okay, now that we've kind of gone through the clothing, I want to talk about what this cold does to our steelhead. The first thing you have to think about for how would you fish or approach water is you're going to want to step back and slow things way down. That water temperature is going to be very close to freezing. If you're on the East Coast, they do get where the water freezes over and you get ice breakups and everything else. So these fish get really lethargic. With that being the case, I approach extreme winter steelhead conditions like this for cold. I don't go first light. The coldest part of the day is right first thing at that sunrise. So what I do is I will go play in my outings 10, 11 o'clock, let that little bit of sun maybe, or temperature change a degree or two could be all the difference of getting fish to bite. And you don't have to sit there worrying about frozen stuff all morning before you even get started. Nothing worse than having a frozen reel for the first hour and you can't even touch your rod anyway. So why not stay home, stay warm, get ready, and go a little bit later. I then approach water in these conditions where I say path of least resistance, right? The typical normal steelhead runs are obviously still going to hold fish, but fish may tuck back off the current a little bit further. So they're right on the inside of that seam. Makes them really easy to find and target in this part, but they are more lethargic. So you switch to talking presentations along with how to fish that water. I downsize everything. Okay, I'm going ahead with smaller jigs. You know, on this rod right here, I have a little 16th ounce jig. That might be too much. I might have to drop that down to a 32nd, even a 64th. I mean, I've gone to that extreme here in Washington just to get fish to turn on. But that being said, when you downsize presentations, whether it's a jig, beads, you could even be fishing small pink worms, downsize does make a difference a lot of the time to help, because these fish are also pressured. So you're talking cold temperatures, slower metabolism, and a lot of angling pressure can really shut those fish off. One more point to the whole presentation item is don't rule out bait. It may be a way to get a little bit more scent, a little bit more oomph to your presentation, whether it's spawn sacks that are tied really small, a little bit of shrimp on a jig. It could even be a little bit of something else you may have up your sleeve, like squid or something otherwise. But bait should not be out of the question in these kinds of extremes. Now, I do, word of caution, if you're using a bait that is a very moist bait, like eggs, for example, I would not fish cured roe in this extreme, because those eggs are going to freeze solid really quick. Spawn sacks are great because it's super easy to hook on a small hook and you don't have to worry about it. So just keep that in mind. Bait, though, however, can be fantastic. Pink worms work great. Again, you might be able to have fish that are completely sluggish and slow. You also might be able to find fish that are really aggressive and need just to be woken up. So here's another killer tip for you. If you're fishing below freezing temperatures, which in this extreme you're most likely going to be doing, don't fish braided line. It's a nightmare. The stuff absorbs water, it freezes, you will have a frozen reel. So what I recommend is you go out and pick up a floating monofilament, or just fish regular mono, but a floating monofilament can really be a game changer. Like this brand Bloodline, been running it as a top shot for many years on my braided float setups. However, I switch a reel over specifically that just has that floating line, and it makes a huge difference. It doesn't sink, doesn't freeze as much. It still can, but it really helps in these situations with the extreme cold. That being said, you also have to address the fact of your rod. It can freeze all the guides as the line goes through and picks up water. Well, little old household Pam can work wonders. I spray this on a little rag, really good saturate it, and I rub it on the inside of all my guides. You can just spray it direct, but it's a mess. You don't want to be sitting there getting Pam grease all over your holding nice rod. So that's something you can do. A quick item to think about for ice help. Good old classic chapstick. Same concept. This just makes it mess free inside of all your guides as best as you can, and it really helps with maintaining less ice buildup, but you do have to apply it multiple times. So if you can carry around a few of these chapsticks, that might be enough. I always go the night before and spray the guides with the Pam. Seems to help quite a bit. There's another product called Real Magic. I use that as well. I don't have a can of it more. I've used it all up, but it helps with keeping the line from freezing on the reel itself. Lubricates a little bit too, so it's a nice product to have. A lot of stores carry it. So that kind of covers protecting the rod itself. Well, everybody, I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Extreme cold steelhead doesn't mean you can't go out there and catch fish. Heck, if you're throwing bait, if you're throwing hardware, throwing jigs, beads, whatever it may be, it all will catch fish, whether West Coast or East Coast. So have some fun. Get out there in this extreme cold and go catch some fish. Tight lines, guys. Check this video out right here. Fish on!